folks. So usually the bonus episode is going to be available on Patreon for $2. This week, since it's our first week, I'm going to go ahead and give this one out for free. So, again, thanks for supporting as always. And I did want to just jump into what I think is pretty much the most important thing for the news to cover, which is the economy. And that's not to say that other things are not important. It's just that everything becomes secondary to what can I afford, how much is life going to cost, and can I feed my family? And if you don't have a family, can I feed myself? Which is, you know, also kind of important. Less so, but kind of. Anyway, the economy is one of those crazy things where people are given different philosophies and different explanations on it from the media and from our political parties, and it's often segmented, right? So the Democrats say you're poor because of this, and the Republicans say you're poor because of this. The Democrats offer one type of option, the Republicans offer another. Both of those options conveniently benefit said party, right? So it really becomes about understanding the nuance and whatever truth is embedded in what they're both telling you. So, right off the bat, we have the Republican Party in power with every branch of government right now, right? So even the Supreme Court basically has a conservative majority, and that's also reflective of the country. So Donald Trump has won the popular vote. And again, I believe that this is because of the economy. And I would say, honestly, that basically every president since 2008, at least, has been the American people saying the economy sucks. Who's going to help? Right, so they run to Obama. Obama doesn't help. They run to Trump. Trump doesn't help. They run over to Biden. They're like, well, that didn't help at all. And then they run back to Trump. And here we are. The conservative mindset and the conservative ideology for economics is that the less government the money has, the more money you will have. And that is, on its face, a false premise, right? It does free more money up, but what usually ends up happening is large businesses or already very wealthy people take that money. They of course promise it'll trickle down to you at some point, but we've been waiting quite a bit on these trickle down economics to kick in. So here we are. So if you're like me, I'm 33. We grew up in the 90s. The 90s, everyone thought it was always going to be the 90s. We told we were told as kids, we were all going to be CEOs or rock stars or very famous actors or highly successful stand-up comedians who don't need to do a podcast in the basement to sell tickets to a comedy show. By the way, I'm in Lynn on April 17th, and I have some more tour dates coming up as well. Anyway, so we were told a certain prediction about the way the world would be that turned out to be very different. People are very angry about that, and I kind of want to talk about why the economy changed in the 90s specifically. There was a movement, partially through NAFTA, which is, something you don't even really need to look into. Basically, what happened was we manufactured stuff here. We decided that we would be able to manufacture stuff in other countries because the U.S. dollar, because it is the reserve currency, which means that if two countries want to trade, China and Yugoslavia cannot exchange their currencies. They need to convert their dollars into the U.S. dollar, exchange U.S. dollars, and then they can trade, right? So this is the way in which we are dominant, it also makes our dollar very valuable, right? So, if you go to some countries, you can spend $5 and you can purchase 25% of their land. You can buy like a river in a poor country for like 10.75. For like less than a Netflix subscription, you can own the government of a third world country. It is crazy because at the time we figured that you would let these manufacturing jobs, more of these blue collar jobs, more of these manufacturing jobs, more of these factory jobs, you would let the other countries take these because we were somehow above them and everybody was just going to work a white collar job. And now, including with the intersection of AI, which I won't even get into until later because there's so many things happening at once, but basically, not everybody's good at doing that. Some white collar jobs, one, are pointless, but two, some people aren't good at that type of shit, okay? And ultimately, a lot of the best jobs are actually trade jobs, like being a plumber. Um, and, you were taught that was something to look down upon. I remember I didn't do my homework in like third grade, and my teacher told me that if I didn't do that, I would end up being a garbage man. Well, guess what? Uh, Garbage men make pretty good money. They have a union. I should have fucking skipped homework every day. So we have Donald Trump. He comes in. His rhetoric is basically that, hey, the economy is bad. We need to bring manufacturing back to the United States. This is not a totally crazy economic philosophy. It is not a total lie. There is at least some sort of rationale behind putting up what are called tariffs, and I'm sure you've heard that word plenty lately. What it means is that when and no, it doesn't mean that like we charge. It doesn't mean that like China pays more to import stuff here. What it means is when China imports stuff here and a company from the US buy stuff from China, which we very often do because the labor is cheaper there, we add a huge percentage to the cost of the Chinese goods. Okay. So China sends over, like, let's just call them "Make America Great Again" hats. By the way, many of those are made in China, and they usually cost $20. Okay, they add a tariff with, they add a 100% tariff. Suddenly, it's $40. Company in America has to pay a guy in U.S. dollars, which are very valuable. So those hats are $35. Now, yeah, the American hat was $35 and the Chinese hat was 20, but now the Chinese hat is more expensive, so I guess you buy American, which is pretty good in theory. In theory. Unfortunately, we have a global economy, right? We are used to what's happening now, that goods are cheap and labor is expensive here. So it's pricey to make stuff in America. So what has happened is stuff is cheap. Stuff we have to build here, like a house, is very expensive. So our culture and our people have transformed into not prioritizing having a home that they can raise a family in, but rather just having stuff. Then, during COVID, and following that, and this is Joe Biden's economy as well. The goods that were cheap got expensive also. So it's like, wait a minute, I can't have a family, and also I can't get 100 chicken McNuggets for $10. What the fuck? You fucked up everything. Like this whole, consumer culture we that we lived in was basically built around the idea that you didn't have to care about the human things in life, like a family, like shelter, like, human connection, because you could just buy stuff. You could buy tons of food that was delicious and, yeah, terrible for you, but because they're frying it in fucking machine lubricant, seed oils, and don't worry, I'm not going to go RFK on you. I do, I do like RFK in the sense that, he's increasing representation for guys with weird voices. Uh, I do have, mine is weirdly smooth. RFK, he has the opposite of whatever is up with me. He just, oh man, he sounds like he swallowed he sounds like he swallowed a garbage disposal. So, look, like, we have this whole central issue where the goods got expensive and manufacturing stuff here is expensive, and Trump adds these tariffs. And look, that's basically using the government when you pretend to be this free market guy. The government shouldn't get involved, but now you're arbitrarily adding a bunch of cost to imported goods to make people buy American, when really, like, shouldn't we just be making quality goods that the whole world wants to buy? No, no. How crazy of an idea. That guy must be fresh off a bong rip or something. And we're here, right? So we're in this place where people are desperately looking for some reason and some sort of simple explanation as to why their lives have gotten worse. And the Republicans basically, it's a classic conservative, even fascist playbook. If you want to go there, you just blame groups. There's people walking around just somehow being like, the economy's bad because of trans people. And you're like, how? And they're like, that just that. This whole like Doge thing, Elon Musk comes in. And by the way, like, if you if you are one of these people that's like, all these dumb liberals got hypnotized and were so easily fooled by the liberal media, yet you think the richest man in the world has taken control of the finances of the U.S. government out of the kindness of his heart, I need you to go for a long walk and consider the way things are. Elon Musk comes in, and Doge loves to announce that, oh my God, we were spending $1 million to send coloring books to trans kids in Cambodia. And yeah, we are doing some of that. And look, USAID, it's really about looking at this nuance, right? USAID, there are segments of USAID where it's literally just the CIA and the deep state funneling money into countries to overthrow democratically elected leaders who don't have the trade deals that we want. Like, we're doing corrupt stuff through USAID, but then we're also feeding starving people at the same time. And you could just cut the corrupt stuff, but they're cutting everything. And they're cutting Medicaid, and they're cutting the ability for old people to call Social Security. And at the same time, they're increasing the Pentagon budget. And guess what? A bunch of that Pentagon budget goes to Elon Musk's companies. Okay? And if the whole point of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is to decrease government spending, then could you tell me why spending is up? That's right. Per the U.S. Treasury, spending is up. We're spending more. Is that more efficient? We're giving $500 billion to AI tech guys to create hundreds and thousands of AI jobs, hundreds of thousands of jobs that will eliminate millions of jobs. Can someone who's good at math tell me how many jobs we gained and how much money we're saving by spending more money? You let me know. So look, anyone who tells you that they know absolutely what is going to happen is probably trying to sell you something. I'm not trying to tell you that. I'm just trying to explain to you what the economy uh, looks like and what actual facets of the economy are actively changing and why. And I'll say this, man, this is not to take a dump on either voter. Um, like if you're a rich Republican, you're just trying to save your money. If you're a middle class Republican, you have some kind of rationale behind wanting to cut taxes, right? You might even save some money depending on where in that quickly disappearing middle class you are. But like if you're a poor Republican, you are so dumb. You are so stupid. I know guys who the most money they make all year is from their tax refund, and they're like, "We gotta lower taxes," and it's like, "What? Why are you fucking yourself?" It's insane. And I know some people are like, "Well, I think one day I'll be making the money, and I don't want to get taxed." No, you have too much faith in yourself, far too much. I again just want people to have a clear idea, and I really truly do thank you for joining me on this bonus episode. I look forward to next week. I'm going to get into a little bit more of what Trump's doing with immigration, as well as what the Democrats are doing now. Spoiler alert, nothing, mostly. And that's kind of their favorite thing to do. I'd love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to share with a friend. I would love to you. I would love. I would love to you. I would love to make love to you. Um, but basically, thank you so much for listening. I will have more info about stuff we'll have going on. We're going to do, panels with other comedians. We're going to do interviews with interesting people. We're going to do debates. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff here on the actual news. And it'll inform you, and it'll also be funny. Imagine that. See you soon. Folks, check out Magic Spoon protein treats for a healthy and delicious snack. I think it's healthy. Healthy is kind of like a relative term these days. I don't think anyone knows anything. Remember like Cliff Bars? These are healthy like Cliff Bars were, where it's kind of like it's just a candy bar and they threw protein in it or whatever. And people thought Cliff Bars were healthy because there was just like a guy climbing a mountain on the wrapper, and you would just eat 8 of them and be like, yeah, I might run a marathon tomorrow. I don't know. And again, what is healthy? Clearly nobody knows. What is healthy? Nobody has any idea. Okay? Like like are eggs good for me? I don't know. Because the only nutritional information source I have is a reel where a very professional looking person says, don't ever eat eggs. And then the next reel is like, all you should be eating are eggs. Nobody knows. RFK replaced all the vaccines with beef tallow. Is that good? Maybe. Anyway, I got to get better at these ad reads. Magic Spoon protein treats. Check them out, or don't. I don't make much money off of this. Thanks so much for checking out today's episode. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share, go to theactualnews.net and check out our Patreon for bonus content. And we'll see you again next week.